Morning. Another day, another verbal test. Today, we're doing it on the Xiaomi Mi Mix Fold, the new and first folding phone from Xiaomi. Today, I'm gonna go through my normal day. We'll check in on the battery. I'll also put photos from this phone and some of its competitors up on the screen so you guys can see how it does. And we'll also just talk about some of the features and what I like and don't like about it. But, first things first. Coffee. Check. Today is going to be a little different because, well, one, we got this guy.
Getting my gunk off my phone.
Cool. Mr. Mobile, Michael
Hi.
Fisher. You know who he is. I
Hi.
don't need to tell you who he is. But Fisher had the idea, let's do something sort of related to the device that we're covering today and suggested that we fold some pizza.
Fold it.
Yeah, that's close enough. So today's a pizza day. That is a lot more shoes than the last time I was over here. So for our first pizza place, we're actually gonna head into the city. There is only one place in Manhattan, and the rest is in Brooklyn, which is where we are now. Fisher insisted. He really wanted to go to the one in the city, and his reasoning was, I wanna ride the boat. Like those of you with kids out there, sometimes you just let them do something, right? Because you just hope that it'll make them happy, and then through the rest of the day they'll just be way better behaved, So, speaking of the boat,
I miss my D brand.
why?
Now they're like equally slimy and gross now without the skin on them.
Oh, I just realized. What are you gonna do when all of the foldables are like the same, and now they're just the same rectangle that just happens to fold?
Quit. Hi, how are you? I guess I'm ready.
Right?
Yeah. Step one.
your poison.
Step one. Pick your poison. Oh, ow! It's hot. Ow. Step one. Slice selected. Step two. Oh, you ready to jump to step two? Fold.
Oh, yes, sir.
Right?
Yeah, that's
Whole reason we're out here.
It's just a habit, really.
Step three.
Consume. Cheers.
Cheers.
Finally made it to our first pizza place. This is Prince Street Pizza. And of course, I let Fisher make me walk like 25 minutes on the hottest day we've ever had this year.
Exercise, baby.
While we're here, though, let's talk about some of the hardware on this phone. First off, obviously resembles very much the Z Fold 2, but the hardware feels solid. It's actually a bit heavier than the Z Fold 2 for sure, but it does have like a good snap open and a good snap close. Unlike the Z Fold 2, though, you can't actually set it into any position in between those two states. It's kind of just one or the other. Now for the outside display, we have a 6.52-inch display. It has a 27:9 aspect ratio, so it is skinnier than, say, the Fold 2. Honestly, to me, it feels like that little difference feels a little cramped as far as like the width is concerned. So it actually already has started to make me not use the outside screen as much as the inside. It kind of reminds me of how that happened with the Fold 1. Now that was obviously a much smaller screen, but there's something about that little extra room for the width that makes it the Fold 2 easier to use on the outside than this. Not a huge thing, but it's just something I've noticed. On the inside, we do have an 8.01-inch screen, and this is obviously our folding display. And unlike the Z Fold 2, it's not using that ultra-thin glass that Samsung is using. It's using the more traditional plastic that we had on like the Fold 1. Fun fact also, the screen is made by a company called China Star Optoelectronics, which happens to be a subsidiary of TCL. Something else to note, the internal screen is a 60 hertz display. The outside screen is 90 hertz. And actually, when you first turn on the phone, it comes as 60 hertz on default. And I changed that to 90, just so you know, for battery life by the time we end today. Now, personally, both screens, according to the spec sheet, are about the same brightness typical. The outside display is a little bit brighter. I can't really tell the difference. To me, though, both I can see in sunlight for the most part, and that's all I really care about. Also, two different versions of this phone. There's the glass back, which is what I'm using here. There's also a special edition with a ceramic back that costs a bit.
Thank you.
And we're back where we started. Fisher,
What?
are you so excited? We went on a boat.
Yes.
We went on it twice.
Two boats.
Oh yeah.
We didn't go on my favorite boat, Lunchbox, though.
Yeah, that would be your favorite boat.
Sad.
We got to a very long detour, essentially. We're back in Greenpoint in Brooklyn, and this next slice, 2 of 5, by the way, is from Pauly G's Slice Shop. Now, Fisher and I have both actually, because we hang out in Greenpoint a lot, been to Pauly G's actual restaurant, which has been around for a long time, but during COVID it actually closed, and they opened up a slice shop down the street. Normally at the regular Pauly G's you can only get pies, you can't get slices. This was their way of kind of allowing people to buy slices, but then it became their sole way of selling pizza during COVID. And both of us haven't actually been to the slice shop. We've only ever been to the restaurant. So, curious to see if it's just as good.
Your table is ready, sir. As we say to the cat, big chomps.
This one you have to fold. Alright, as for the phone, consuming content on it, obviously because you're going to do that a lot, especially with that larger screen. First off, the speakers, there are 4 of them. They are very loud, in a good way. Maybe a little tinny on the very top end, but I think they sound great. Now, because of the aspect ratio of the large screen, it's almost square. It's 3:2. So you will have black bars no matter what aspect ratio of video you are watching. So just, obviously keep that in mind. But it's still pretty large and much larger than you would have it on a normal phone. As far as using apps, they all seem to work fine. They adjust from one side of the screen to the other. They'll even do the continuity thing where, like, if you're using it on the outside and you open it, it'll just continue on the inside. You can also set it to do the same thing going in the reverse as well. I personally have it set to when I close the phone to just lock the screen so it doesn't do that, just because I kind of like that finality of being like, oh, I'm done, click, and then walking away. But it works both directions, as I mentioned. Now, there is one app that doesn't always work very well, and that's because it never does on any of these devices, or on other devices for that matter, and that's Instagram.
Screw Instagram.
But that is not a problem with the phone. That's more of an issue with Instagram themselves. Now, you just have to keep in mind, though, that if you're trying to watch things like stories, you're going to have to do that on the outside screen. If you don't, the top and the bottom of the stories gets cut off. As far as the feed is concerned, that looks just fine regardless of which screen you're using. As far as responsiveness for all of these apps and the videos and everything else you do on here, it feels really snappy to me. It is using a Snapdragon 888, which is the latest processor. It has either 12 gigs or 16 gigs of RAM, depending on the model that you get, and that is 3200 megahertz RAM. To me personally, it's definitely overkill, but anything you throw at it, it'll probably handle.
It's the second pizza place, and you already look defeated. Like, just posture. I can't do anymore.
Okay, far. Oh man. This is the best decision I've ever made.
I'm just gonna say right now that the pizza box pizza, definitely Fisher's idea. I don't know how we're supposed to eat all that, but we'll see. Regardless, this is Vinny's, and it's actually a little pizza shop down the street from my house on the main drag called Bedford Avenue. And there's been quite a few times in the past that I remember kind of stumbling down this road and stopping here and getting pizza. And they make a good slice, really good buffalo chicken pizza. That's one of my favorites at this place. But just a good, like, traditional New York slice shop. Now, something we need to talk about, because I haven't actually talked about it yet, and it's important, is the fact that this device does not have the Google Play Store when you buy it, because it is a Chinese model. I actually, when I bought it, and I bought it from a third party on like eBay, I don't recommend doing that. The price is a lot more than it should be, but they did actually pre-install Google Play for me. That's how easy that was. I've also looked up, and it's not hard to do. Now, a lot of that comes down to the fact that this is not Huawei, it's Xiaomi, and Huawei is the only one that's really banned in the United States, and so Google Play actively does not work on it, whereas Xiaomi has Google Play normally. It's only not on this device because this particular unit is meant for the China market, which doesn't use Google, and Google's not allowed to be in. But just know this device does not come with Google, but Google was easily installed, and I've been using it like I would any other device that natively has Google, so that's cool. Now, honestly, it's not perfect. I mean, there are little things that happen, like when you try to open certain apps to like update them, they'll try to open the Xiaomi store and of course fail because that's not where they came from, along with some other weirdness of like notifications not working terribly well. But that comes down to something that also happens with Huawei phones as well, which is like an overly aggressive battery management and also permission system. I actually had to go into the settings, turn auto start on for all of the apps that I wanted to get notifications for, as well as like disable some of the battery restrictions, etc., etc. I did manage to fix most of the issues though, so that's kind of nice. And again, just keeping in mind that this is not meant for this market at all. There might be a global version at some point. I've seen rumors saying that there will be. I've also seen rumors saying that there won't be. So we'll see. But when that global version happens, obviously that's going to be a lot easier to use. All the Play Store stuff, it'll be more optimized for everything, and also just probably work a little bit better. The problem. Good slice of pizza that has now been soaked in grease inside a pizza box.
Look at them dribbles.
We didn't waste the pizza. It's in my apartment now. I'll eat pizza for 2 weeks. On to the next one though. Hi, how are you? Good. Pizza spot number 4. It's actually a spot that was another place that I used to come to a long time ago that closed during COVID, and Leo has opened in its stead. It's actually the sister restaurant to another pizza place that I have been to, but I have not been here, called Ops, out in Bushwick, a little further east. But, ready, Fisher? Pizza number 4.
Do we have to eat it?
Let's try it.
Hey.
He was so gung-ho before. Place number 4 for some reason.
Hold on, wait.
He was talking crap about me not eating the whole slice and like taking my time.
I got it. I ate a pizza box.
Fold. Must be folded. It's pretty good.
It's all right. This is the glass of water that's next to the wine tasting glasses that you have to reset your palate.
You're saying this pizza's a palate cleanser?
Yeah, pretty much.
For more
fine.
pizza.
It's fine.
Well, while we're here, let's talk about camera. Okay, so we have 3 cameras, and Xiaomi would like you to think that there are 4 because of the macro camera. We'll get to that in a sec. And the first camera is an ultra-wide 13 megapixel f2.4 camera. Then we have a 108 megapixel, which is actually binned in sets of 3x3 to get larger pixels like we've seen a lot of devices do. So those are 12 megapixel shots by default. And interestingly enough, it is actually a Samsung sensor. It's the HM2, which is their 3rd generation 108 megapixel sensor, and the aperture on it is f1.8. Which brings us to the 13 megapixel 3 times telephoto lens, which is our liquid lens. Now what that's referring to is that there's actually a liquid that is wrapped in a film, and they can actually, using a small motor, change the shape of that liquid and therefore change the shape of the lens itself, or the film. Now that slight change actually allows for a much larger focal range. So we can use it as a telephoto lens, but we can also use it as a very close macro camera. That's pretty cool, but part of me feels like we've seen people use just ultra wide cameras as macro cameras on other devices. so I don't know how useful that is. I will say that the macro on this is much closer than most of those, but still, like, I mean, it's a macro camera. I'm not that excited about it. I do think, though, that credit is deserved for just the innovation and, like, what they've done here. That's cool. But as far as, like, the macro camera, it's something I just don't usually use anyway. The other thing it does allow you to do, though, is that you can actually take macro videos, which is interesting. Speaking of, we can shoot in 8K at up to 30 frames per second, only on the main camera, though, but we can shoot in up to 4K 60 on all of the cameras. Pizza place. This is Roberta's, and we're out in Bushwick. It's a bit east and south of all the other places basically that we were in Williamsburg and Greenpoint. I've been here a long time ago, many years ago, and a lot of it has not changed at all, except that this backyard is now massive, which is crazy, but obviously great for COVID. We each got our own different pie, and when we swapped some slices here, and I'm just kind of stoked, I'm not gonna lie. Also scared, because I've had already 4 pizzas today. So good. I say that about all of them, but no, seriously though, they're really good. Okay, now the battery died while we were here. I don't want you to take that too harshly though. The truth of the matter is that I filmed a lot of video on this phone. I also filmed a lot of video for Fisher that you're not even seeing in this video. So there's just a lot. Now I will later on show you the battery report and what happened for today, so you can kind of check that out. But also I did a battery report for another day that was a little more normal, and I'll put that up on the screen as well. In the meantime though, let's talk a little bit about that battery. Now first up, the battery is a 5020 milliamp battery. That's a full 520 milliamps bigger than the Mate X2 and also the Z Fold 2. And something I like about it is a fast charging battery. So it has 67 watt fast charging, but it's not any proprietary type of technology. Like Oppo has their own and OnePlus has their own, all these companies have their own, and they only work with their chargers. This is using the open standard. So it's using Power Delivery 3 and Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4 Plus. So plugging it into even this battery pack here that Fisher is letting me use, it'll fast charge it at 65 watts. Basically, near as makes no difference as fast as the charger in the box does, which is fantastic and is just going to be more common. A lot of the chargers you have, probably for your laptop, for other phones, so long as they're USB-C, will probably support one of those fast charging techs, and that'll work on this phone. One thing we are missing though is Qi, or wireless charging. There's no reverse wireless charging, and there's no actual wireless charging like there is on, say, the Z Fold 2. Tap to focusing with your nose.
You don't?
No, I do actually. That's fair. Cheers, man. Thank you. Cheers. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen.
Bye.
Can't see you on the screen, but goodbye.
Yeah. You are a mere silhouette to me as well.
Au revoir. Cheers, guys. Okay. Calling it a night. Here, as I mentioned, is my screen on time and my usage and everything for today. And then here is all that same stuff for yesterday, when I wasn't doing a real world test and I wasn't filming as much as I was. Now, bottom line, the battery is good. I actually think it did a great job, especially yesterday when it lasted all day from waking to sleep. And even today with all of the filming and everything, still did a pretty good job. Now for me, I think the most interesting thing about this device is that it is, well, $500 essentially cheaper than what the Z Fold 2 launched at. And whether it's comparable to that or not, doesn't really matter. The truth of the matter is that any time that a folding phone, especially the larger ones like this as compared to like the Z Flip, etc., comes down in price that much, it starts to bring to the price of like a top flagship phone, like the highest model iPhone or the highest model S21 Ultra, etc. And that is a good thing for the industry in general, right? Like foldables are just kind of too expensive for your average person, but once they start to get further and further down, and we're probably a couple of generations of devices away from that, they're gonna be the same price as a flagship phone, and then that makes the form factor a lot more compelling.
Also, the Galaxy Z Fold 2 has come down a lot in price. I've actually found it for only $1,600, which is $100 more than the Xiaomi. And I've even found it for less than that if you're willing to get it renewed or refurbished. I'll leave links below to all of the phones, the Xiaomi, the Z Fold 2, and the best prices that I could find for anyone interested in that.
And as my buddy, Mr. Mobile, who was in this video, obviously today, would say that just makes the whole industry a lot more interesting. Speaking of, if you want to check out his video that he just filmed today while we were traveling around, I'll leave a link to that here and in the description below. But let me know what you guys think of this video, of the phone itself, in the comments below. Always appreciate hearing from you guys. And if you like this video, please thumbs up it or share it. It's greatly appreciated. Also, check out the rest of the channel. If you like what you see there, please subscribe and ding the bell next to where it's subscribe so you get notified when I do new videos. I'll also leave a link below to the best price and the places that I could find this device for anybody interested in that. As always, though, regardless, thanks for watching.